Hi, Rex here. Today we're going to do a review on the Maxy Cinco 2.0. And if you know about Maxy, he used to do fuel, and he did a Cinco BT that was popular a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And that was no Verasi based. It was a 5-port similar to the P5. Kind of had some tweaks with a red head, so it's good looking if you like red. Maxy, I've never met him personally, but you know, I ordered some engines from him when he had the BT, the Cinco BT, and all my dealings with him, he was, you know, really nice. And I think he actually sent me a couple of these shirts because I ordered a few engines. He didn't have to do that, so I contacted him this time about, you know, doing a review of his engine. I just saw it recently, maybe within the last month, so I don't know when exactly it was released. I did send him a message on Facebook, you know, if he could tell me a little bit about his engine and what his goals were with it. Why he switched to this one's made by Pico, so it's made in Italy still, same as the other one. So, but this time at the Pico factory instead of the Novarasi factory. So the other Maxy, I believe, used to do modifying too, but he said he doesn't have time for that anymore. He's more on the retail side of it now. So we'll go through the engine in the shop with the better lighting and stuff. But it is a nice looking engine. And with my conversation with Maxy online, I asked him about getting one. He kind of wondered how that would work and stuff, and so he ended up setting me up with a dealership. So I can get these engines. It's a nice looking engine. So this one is, I paid for it, so it is for sale, and I also I can get more. I don't, depending on, you know, their stock or whatever. And we'll go over the price, the retail price later. But if you want a modified version or stock version, hit me up on the price. I don't like to, you know, I'm selling this for $200, you know, and you know, because there's always people selling online or eBay or whatever for $10 over cost, and then it drives all the other retailers out. You know, if I was to sell this super cheap, then other retailers couldn't really compete with that, and then they're just not going to sell this engine. So I don't like advertising a price super cheap or whatever. But if you want to hit me up on the price on this, it does have a DLC coated crank. Looks specs wise, it looks kind of in between the V1 and the Pico, the older version, and the newer one that I did reviews of. So some similarities in them, but it's not the same. So I thought it might be the same as one of those two, but it's not. So we'll dive into. I'll do it with a little better lighting, look at it closer and stuff. So I do want to thank everyone for watching the videos. I'm super busy on engines. I've had up to 15 engines in at once, 15, 17 engines at once, and trying to get as many out a week that I can. But I'm backed up minimum of 2 weeks, probably closer to 3 if you send me new engines. Still with pistons, you know, some rebuilds, some resized sleeves, and I mean, I got a package of 12 piston sleeves to resize. It's just been crazy. Apparently doing videos, and you guys, you know, are supporting me and stuff too. So I work full time, so I just do this in my spare time. So it's not like I'm working on engines 10 hours a day. So if I was doing that, I would keep up better, but it's just me. I can't hire someone to do my job, and so you know, so it's been pretty busy, and thank you guys. So we'll look into this Maxy Cinco 2.0. Okay, here's the Maxy Cinco 2.0, and we'll open up the box here, see what's inside. We have some stickers. These are kind of smaller stickers. Actually a nice size to put on the body of your RC car. Some of them are so big you wouldn't really put them on a car. Some instructions. Looks like it has exploded view. Some instructions there. The engine. We have some caps for the engine, plus the collet for the clutch. An extra venturi, a 6.5. I believe the engine has a 7.0 in it. So those are two nice usable sizes. And the bolt for the carb pinch bolt. Looks like you have to put the O-rings on that. So then we'll dig into the engine here. So there it is. I always kind of like the red head on the first version, Cinco. There's the pinch bolt you need to install for the carburetor. Always like the Pico style back plates. They always kind of got some nice highlighted machining. Block's kind of plain, which is understandable because it's made by Pico. So yeah, it's a nice looking engine. You're going to see the same carb on some of the Reds and Pico engines. Oh, sorry, that's a 7.5 restrictor. So you have a 7.5 and a 6.5. That's, if you were just going to have two, that would probably be good sizes. This thing lists at $449.99, and it is available with a pipe, a $20.99 pipe, and at a pretty good price with the combo with the pipe. It also is available in a GT model for on-road GT racing. And like I said, Maxy did hook me up with a dealer price on these. So if you want to get them through me, either stock or modified, it would be best to email me at rwmods@yahoo.com for that price and stuff. Like I said, I don't like to advertise something, other than the list price. DLC coated crank. So that's kind of the price range is over $400 for something with a DLC coated crank. This does have a ceramic rear bearing. We'll look into that when we have it apart. So that's kind of the price range. But yeah, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised if you email me for the price, either stock or modified, or just kind of. I think on these, I am behind on engines pretty far. So I mean, if you were to order a new one, I mean, you're talking 3 weeks for a modified engine before I could get it. So if it's just kind of almost like a blueprinted or just kind of a touched up engine, we could do that quite a bit quicker. Which is all, when we get into the numbers, this thing doesn't need a lot of modifying. So we'll dig into her and start taking it apart. So there we have it all apart. There's the ceramic rear bearing. Internally looks pretty good internally. I don't really say a lot of changes. Sometimes they advertise, they said something about improved flow and stuff with the block, but it does look like the other blocks. So look at the crank here. Pretty standard looking Pico crank. Got the 2 weights, silicone fill. Nice thing about this is it's DLC coated. They last forever. If you don't get sand running through it, it'll last forever. An engine like this that has a DLC coated crank, if you put bearings and rods in it every few gallons, I mean, as needed, you literally can get 20 gallons out of it, as long as it didn't get overly hot or have dirt run through it, your filter problem or something. So you got a nice exit flow there on the crank. Pretty much all you'd need in a crank. The sleeve, it's a Cinco, so it's 5 ports. Pretty nice looking sleeve. I like these sleeves on the Picos better than the old style. The old style kind of had the really long boost port. It was kind of way cut down to here, longer than it needed to be. And these have a little bit different style, a little bit different machining on the sleeve, and I do like them better. The old ones kind of always felt sharp on everything, like it wasn't deburred. These have a little better feel to them. The piston, these always have a nice look, very nicely ground. The Pico is always kind of sealed down a little bit from the top. Always had a good strong rod. Don't see too many rod failures on the Picos. The back plate, this is one of the Picos I did a review on, had this similar back plate. So it's black anodized with the machining on the face here with that. I think what this cut here does is air. I mean, because that back plate's pretty much uptight, and it kind of gives a little room for the air to kind of flow out of the crank. So I'm not. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I don't know if it necessarily makes enough difference that you can feel it, but it's kind of neat. I don't disagree with the philosophy, I guess, then. So the carburetor, I'd have to look back at some of my other videos. This does have a short needle carburetor. Let me see it. So about 3/4 throttle, it was kind of a blunt end. So I think that's different than some of the other ones I've seen. It kind of has a blunt end, which usually they're rounded or tapered a little bit at the end. So it'd be interesting to see how that tunes. Guess the head button came off. So this is a similar head to some of the engines. I believe the Red's Scuderia, that 721, had a similar head. I do like this head over some of their other ones. It feels a little lighter. It's drilled out nice. I like the machining on the outside that kind of gives a little bit extra kick to the finish. And the head button. Some of the other ones had an O-ring, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that. The O-ring, I get the O-ring. It doesn't let dirt get in there and stuff. But to me, when I take an engine apart, I thoroughly clean everything. So unless you're at the track and need to make a head shim change, I don't really care if it's got the O-ring around it or not. The shimming on this one was about 23 thousandths piston to head clearance. So that's when I talk about if you get one kind of blueprinted from me, or just kind of I would probably change the shimming a little bit, maybe modify the head button a little bit, and just do a couple little tweaks that it needs, because it doesn't really need much crank timing added. The sleeve isn't going to benefit big time by cutting on it a lot. And all that really helps a little bit, but just to race, this thing's going to have plenty of power stock. And speaking of timing, we'll go through the numbers here. I thought this engine was going to be just the same as one of the other, either the Pico or the Scuderia or one of those engines. And it didn't have the same numbers as any of them. So there was a bore difference between the V1 and the Blast. I guess the blue-headed Blast one. It's hard. I'd have to look back at some of the reviews I did to even see the differences, but I do have them on the computer. So the Maxy Cinco 2.0, the blowdown was 40, which that is a little bit less than the other two Picos that I did. So 40 is decent. I think with that being 40, I like it up, for a buggy or whatever, I'd go up to 45, 46, so this stock would be quite a bit of torque. It should have quite a bit of torque. Should pull a truggy just fine. And then induction opening is 152, induction closing 65, for a total of 217, which is very similar to one or both of the other Picos that I did. So those are good numbers. Like that crank doesn't need to be really altered at all. It's got the silicone fill. It's got DLC, so that doesn't really need to be touched. If you needed a little more top end, or for a buggy, I'd maybe recommend going to 45 blowdown. like I said, it really doesn't need modifying. And then sometimes you can kind of tune out some of that with a different pipe or header or something too. So all in all, I'm really impressed with it. Looks good. I do kind of like that carb that the Scuderia comes with a little bit better than this one, but I don't have some of those other engines to be able to tell if this carb is much different. But you have to go back on my other video and see if that's different or if I showed that. That's kind of a little interesting. So all in all, great looking engine. I like the red and black DLC coated crank. I believe these new sleeves are a little bit better quality that they've been kind of out. That's kind of the Scuderia and that style. I like, I just like the fit and finish of them. I believe they went to the bigger diameter. They were about 10 thousandths smaller before, and now they're similar size to a lot of different engines. So yeah, all in all, great internals on it. These rods are strong. So okay, so before I edited this video together, I did hear back from Maxy, and the message he sent me was, "Thanks, Rex. One reason I started business with Pico is because of the change the company has made regarding the engine crankcase. It has been a very good change. Also, the materials have improved. I have tested the engine for over 10 months until achieving the combo of piston liner crankshaft that can obtain power, durability, and low consumption," which I think he means fuel consumption. So he's working on power, durability, and fuel consumption. I did find an old this is old P7R block, but the main thing I noticed right away is the older Picos, even up until a year or two ago, had this exhaust was angled down, and I believe there might be a couple engines still available right now, and this new one is this it's more standard, just straight out. And what difference that makes is it does require a different header, for the for the pipe. And I think it's not too much of an angle. I think I have seen guys use one or the other and make it work. It still seals good enough, but it's not ideal. And these do use it. It's a little different gasket. It doesn't have the notch like I guess I got a block here. Like a lot of Novorossi blocks have a Novorossi, and almost all others use they have a groove in there. So the exhaust gasket has a groove in it also. And these require a different gasket, and probably only through Pico Reds and anything that uses that style. So you have to be careful when you order new exhaust gaskets. So I just thought I had this old block laying around, and this is pretty similar to the older Reds blocks were kind of like this. I think a little different in this area, but kind of a similar block they've been using for years. And internally, I don't really see. I mean, I see some subtle differences. I do see that the cuts. Let's see a couple. They've got more traditional cuts. Most engines come with these machine cuts here to help airflow up. The old one doesn't have that. This one has a. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it has a divider. It would be a divider that kind of sits in here, and what that offers some support also. But he didn't elaborate on what kind of changes, but maybe the case volume is a little bit less too. It's possible, but this block, I'd have to go back and look at the other video, but the 721 Scuderia, I believe, was this same block, or at least maybe some cosmetic things different, but I know it had the straight exhaust. So just thought I'd add that in this video. Yeah, hit me up if you want either this engine, or if you want to order one, stock or modified. Like I said, it'd run really good stock. Actually even recommend trying it out stock and say, hey, it needs a little more top end, or gives a little more fuel mileage, or we could do something down the road. Like I said, I'm pretty busy right now. To even just get a modified one, you'd be waiting a couple weeks, or at least 2 to 3 weeks. So Maxy's a great guy, so I'd like to support him, and easy, he's helpful, and so I think it's a great engine. I might give one a try myself. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.